On December 8, 2005, inside a tiny room sits a thin 27-year-old, eyes locked onto glowing monitors, surrounded by half-eaten ramen, energy drink cans, a hand resting on a mouse like it's a trigger. This is Takashi Kotegawa, a bedroom day trader known online only as BNF. But today, because of one catastrophic typing error by Mizuho Securities, one mistake could make him richer than the CEOs of the companies he trades. The error shakes the nation, embarrasses one of the biggest institutions in Japan. But this moment, this single morning, will not just make him $17 million in 10 minutes. It will transform a hidden recluse into a national legend. So what makes this guy trading in this small apartment into an absolute legend admired by many? What was that one mistake made by Mizuho Securities which made a bedroom trader $17 million in 10 minutes? To understand how a man with no job, no degree, and no social life became the greatest day trader Japan ever produced, we must return to March 5, 1978 in Ichikawa, Chiba. Takashi Kotegawa was born completely ordinary. No rich parents, no genius IQ, no childhood signs of brilliance. He was simply a quiet kid who preferred screens over people. In school, he wasn't bullied or hated, he just wasn't noticed. He didn't fit in, didn't belong, and never tried to. While other teenagers formed clubs, chased love, went drinking, and built memories they would laugh about years later, Takashi did the opposite. He closed his door and stayed inside. What started as simple introversion slowly grew claws, turning into isolation, and that isolation eventually became hikikomori, Japan's word for someone who disappears from society without ever leaving home. By 19, he hardly stepped outside his room. His mother would leave food at the door like offerings to a ghost. But one night, while channel surfing in boredom, he stumbled upon a documentary about American financiers, and one name echoed in his mind: Victor Niederhofer, a bold hedge fund manager who made fortunes and lost them just as fast. To most people, Niederhofer's story was a warning. To Takashi, it was a calling. The idea that a human could sit alone in a room and still move millions. He whispered the name aloud, but in Japanese pronunciation, V becomes B, BNF. A legend wasn't born that day, but a direction was. Takashi had one problem. He had no money. His entire savings from odd jobs was 1.6 million yen, about $13,600. But for a hikikomori with nothing to lose, it was enough. He opened a brokerage account, studied charts with the obsession of a monk, read message boards until sunrise, and stepped into the Tokyo Stock Exchange at the worst possible time. The year 2000, as the dot-com collapse dragged the Nikkei below 10,000, and Japan sank deeper into its lost decade with markets bleeding and investors terrified, the conditions were perfect for a mind that felt no fear. Takashi created a system for surviving chaos. Buy when a stock drops 20% below its 25-day moving average. Sell when panic stabilizes. He called it trading the divergence. The idea was simple. The discipline required was not. And slowly, the system worked. In 1 year, $13,600 became $40,000, then $100,000, then $500,000. And by 2003, he had crossed $1 million. Not through luck, through watching human fear the way a predator watches herd behavior. But his rise brought attention. On Japan's largest anonymous forum, 2channel, a username appeared, BNF. He posted his trades, and at first people laughed, dismissing him as another anonymous kid pretending to be a genius. He posted screenshots, cold and undeniable, yet people still doubted, convinced it had to be luck or lies. So he posted more. Day after day, trade after trade, each one sharper, cleaner, more terrifyingly precise. And slowly, the online forums changed. The laughter stopped. The doubts faded. And before anyone realized it, this silent, pale young man trading alone in a cramped room was no longer just a username on a message board. He was a myth taking shape in real time. BNF's followers studied him like a religion, dissecting every screenshot, every whisper of a trade, every subtle move he made, hoping to decode the secret behind his impossible consistency. But what they never realized was that his real power wasn't hidden in some magical strategy or algorithm. It lived entirely in his mindset. Rule number 1, money is the enemy. He never calculated his net worth, never checked gains after closing a position. He believed caring about money poisoned judgment. Rule number 2, adapt or die. When the bear market ended, he abandoned the divergent strategy entirely. Most traders cling to what once worked. BNF mutated like a virus. Rule number 3, never hold overnight. Stocks could gap massively in Japan depending on after-hours news. BNF refused to sleep while exposed to risk. Every day began and ended at zero. Rule number 4, stay invisible. He still lived in a tiny apartment, still ate cheap ramen, still wore the same gray sweaters. And then, in 2005, the universe handed him the perfect storm. Inside Mizuho's trading floor, an overworked junior trader rushed to execute a routine sell order. The instructions were simple: sell 1 share of JCOM at 610,000 yen. But in the blur of flashing screens, pressure, and end-of-day chaos, his fingers slipped. He typed the reverse: 610,000 shares at 1 yen each. A position so absurd, so mathematically impossible, it should have been rejected instantly. But the system didn't reject it. The internal safeguards failed. And in one catastrophic second, the order went live, flooding the market with a sell offer 42 times the company's total shares in existence. BNF watched the order book like a predator tracking a wounded animal. 610,000 shares at 1 yen, an impossible order that shouldn't have existed, yet somehow it did. He saw the panic before anyone understood it. He saw the liquidity glitch, the numbers collapsing, the market convulsing on pure fear. Traders fled like animals sensing an earthquake, and in the middle of that chaos, BNF simply clicked buy. He acquired 7,100 shares just before the chaos peaked, and minutes later, when the error was finally discovered and the truth rippled through the exchange, the market corrected violently upward. In that single surge, BNF earned 2 billion yen, $17 million in less than 10 minutes, launching him into a spotlight he never asked for as television networks hunted him, documentaries filmed inside his tiny room, and he became JCOM Man, the ghost who robbed the stock market with pure logic. But fame is a disease, attention is a trap, and even gods bleed. It was 2008, the height of the global financial crisis. Banks were collapsing, panic was spreading through the streets of New York and Tokyo alike. When BNF looked at the chaos, he saw a familiar pattern forming, a chart shape he had seen 100 times before. And at the center of it was Lehman Brothers, its stock plunging in a straight line toward the abyss. To the rest of the world, this looked like the death of an empire, but to him, it looked like a discount, another temporary overreaction, like the ones he'd conquered countless times in Japan. With the confidence of a man who had never lost on his own turf, he invested $6.5 million, a bet fueled not by randomness, but by the belief that fear always snaps back. But this wasn't Japan, and this wasn't a glitch or a momentary panic. This was a system-wide collapse born from corruption, toxic assets, and global contagion. And 2 days later, Lehman filed for bankruptcy, turning his entire investment into zero. For the first time in his life, BNF made a mistake not of strategy, but of ego. Yet legends don't die from one wound. They rise from it, sharper, quieter, and far more dangerous than before. The crisis didn't stop at Wall Street. It spread to Japan like a virus. The Nikkei collapsed to levels no one thought possible. Retail investors panicked and fled the market entirely, pulling their money out in fear. Hedge funds and institutions liquidated everything they could. But for BNF, this wasn't the end of the world. It was the beginning of opportunity. Fear was his playground, his native environment, the one emotion he understood better than anyone alive. On October 27, 2008, the darkest day of the crash in Japan, BNF made the biggest trade of his entire life. While the rest of the country froze, he acted. With the calm of a surgeon preparing for a high-risk operation, he deployed $64.8 million across 90 different stocks in a single morning, spreading his bets like a general placing troops across a battlefield. By noon, his positions were losing. By lunch break, he was deep underwater, tens of millions in the red. Phones were ringing across the trading floors of Tokyo, investors screaming, brokers sweating, analysts predicting a total meltdown. When trading resumed after lunch, the impossible happened. The market reversed as buyers rushed back in, sensing the sell-off had gone too far. BNF didn't hesitate. He moved like a machine, unloading positions with surgical precision, slicing out profits with the timing of a sniper hitting moving targets. By the end of the day, he earned $12 million in profits from a single trading day. The redemption was complete. After the chaos of 2008, BNF didn't just step back from the spotlight, he disappeared entirely. No more posts on 2 Channel, no more interviews, no more documented trades. His old apartment, once the humble shrine of a trading legend, was found abandoned, and his new residence became a mystery no journalist could crack. Some claimed he still traded quietly from the shadows, others insisted he had retired at the peak, and a few believed he never cared about the money to begin with, only the game itself. In the end, he became the rarest figure in financial history, a man who made hundreds of millions and then walked away from everything that usually corrupts greatness. No book deals, no hedge fund, no media tours, no desperate grasp for fame, just silence.